Hello, Bible readers. It is Monday, February 8th. We're reading from Galatians chapter 1, verses 1 through 24, and 2 Chronicles chapters 5 through 8. The temple, the place of worship, and the means of grace for ancient Israel. Our means of grace as Lutheran Christians, we talk about Holy Communion and Holy Baptism. We talk about the means of grace as being rituals, times, places where God is active. God is in relationship. God is truly present through water and the word, through wine and bread and the living word. Well, the temple is that in Judaism. 2 Chronicles divides Solomon's reign into two halves. The first 5 chapters are about construction and the equipping of the temple. The next 5 chapters, chapters 5 through 9, are going to be about filling that building with God's real presence, where Israel brings their worship and their prayers. This is the part of 2 Chronicles where the temple comes to life. The chronicler is proud to live in a temple age. And so the chronicler celebrates the temple's place in the spirituality of the people. It would be a lot like a NASA engineer, 30, 40 years later, writing about the history of NASA going to the moon, writing about it with pride, knowing what that moment meant to NASA. Well, the chronicler knows what the temple means to Judaism. So that's kind of the tone that the chronicler writes in. And notice, at the very end of our reading for today, Solomon is very rich. That's a lot of gold that he gets. So, Galatians, we start a letter. It's one of the most direct. A lot of times, we might come to a part of Scripture and we're like, I'm not sure what this means, what the author's trying to get at. I'm not sure there's a lot of questions about what Paul is trying to get at here as he speaks to the Galatians. Luther wrote a very famous commentary on Galatians, so I'm probably as familiar with this letter as any. But Paul here shows his passion. He is upset, and he lets that be known almost immediately. The identity of newly established churches is up for grabs. As Paul's making his way through the known world and founding churches as he goes, the question these churches have, because he's not the only one doing this, we find out in this letter to the Galatians. There are other people kind of following behind him, maybe out in front of him a bit, but there's different ideas about who the church is and what they're supposed to be. Are the churches, these new planted churches, are they branches on the tree of Judaism? Or are they something completely new? Are they neither Jewish nor pagan? In what ways would a Christian be free from Jewish practices or from previous parts of their lives? And these are tough questions, and not everybody agrees on the answers. Big surprise, right? I think we're still struggling with a lot of those questions. Paul's message is that this God we're following through Jesus is a God of radical grace. That message feels fresh, maybe not new, but in many ways different from the message Judaism had been teaching. Radical grace apart from works of the law. We are put right with God by faith, by the faith of Jesus, which is shown, Jesus' faith is shown in its fullness on the cross of all places, not in some, glory-filled temple like Solomon has, but on the cross. So there is some difference here. This is not a general theology letter where Paul is simply establishing, for everyone to understand. It is written to a specific moment of crisis. And we can make educated guesses about what that specific moment was, what was going on, based on some of the things Paul speaks to. It seems that other Jewish Christian missionaries have come to town presenting a different gospel. Gentiles, they were saying, needed to be circumcised. He calls that a perversion of the gospel. And as I said, he gets at this stuff pretty much right away. So Paul doesn't pull any punches. He's very directly speaking. We're gonna find out a lot about Paul through this, one of his earliest letters. Galatians is fun. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.